Today's presentation promises to be a fun story, with the title I'm sure catching many folks' eyes ahead of time. Folks working within commercial enterprises I know are very excited about artificial intelligence and the opportunity to improve their businesses' efficiency. Corporations and other AI enthusiasts are going to have to slow their roll, as we are all going to have to rethink how virtual communication and data governance is going to be tackled when it comes to artificial intelligence. There are numerous rabbit holes in which we can dive down into AI. But before we begin, I'd like to start this off by saying I spoofed this audio of me speaking as the intro. That's right. This entire intro was given by artificial intelligence. I just wanted to get us kicked off by touching upon the surface on the rise of deepfakes being a very real and serious threat.
Well. Let's continue forward. So, don't fear, folks, any longer. I won't let that robot. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. Before you continue, can you prove that you're the real Paddy?
I am. I can promise I really am. My cat was just here. I had a whole supervillain mode going. But
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to give folks a little scare and get folks entertained as we intro this conversation. So, how did I just do that? And what did it cost? Well, I just went and signed up for an account at 11 Labs. I spent $5 of my real hard-earned money and 5 minutes or less of my time to create a realistic voice recording. That's the barrier to entry to create that intro. So I was only able to spoof my voice, but the technology is rising rapidly. I think folks can look no further than Instagram or TikTok and realize it's only a matter of time before filters that are overlaid on top of you can mimic your voice or mimic the motion of your lips in real time. So I may not have been able to fool everyone in the audience, but the point of me starting this presentation with the deepfake is to set the tone on just the kind of changes the world is going to require now that this technology has made itself available to the masses. The ability to take advantage of subconscious trust of a recognized voice is going to be ripe for abuse in any setting. I think folks can see the real life examples starting to trickle through the media. Folks recently reported on a high school principal in suburban Baltimore who was deepfaked by a disgruntled employee, and it left his reputation seriously maligned. For those interested, feel free to Google Pikesville High School principal deepfake. And I have the sources at the end, so feel free, if you don't have the time to Google, I will give you that. Now, before we get this presentation off the rails, I really want to let the audience know there's some small advice and simple steps that everyone here today can take with them to prevent from being fooled. I have on screen here some key bulleted items. You're going to want to set up verification protocols, I should say, for both virtual and in-person interactions. This is going to include confirming identities through multiple channels, like video call, and then quickly after a phone call, just to reference that point that you made earlier on the video call. You're going to also want to use safe words or passphrases to verify communications. These are really pre-agreed upon and only known to the authorized personnel, which allows for an extra layer of security against impersonation. And then the last step really is seemingly the common sense step. You're going to want to train staff regularly on how to spot deepfakes. Teach them to look for inconsistencies in facial movements, unnatural blinking, or mismatched audio or visual cues. So what kind of AI are we discussing in today's topic? The simple mention of AI in any presentation is going to spark a diverse amount of conversation. And as my robot self mentioned, a lot of rabbit holes to dive down into. I really want to preface today's conversation by focusing on just generative AI usage and large language model governance. So, who am I and why am I speaking on this topic? I'm an application delivery manager for SunWest Bank. My primary focus is building teams and applications that are used to make our bank more competitive and efficient within the industry. I am a technologist and a lifelong learner with a passion for cutting-edge technologies to solve real-world problems. My background in software engineering has given me a deep understanding of both the potential and the risks associated with this emerging technology that is generative AI. Let me slow down here because I really want to stretch myself and explain why I picked this topic. I took a look at what commercial enterprises realistically can do to minimize the downsides of generative AI, especially when it comes from a data governance perspective. Businesses are going to follow wherever the efficiency is hiding. That's just the reality. If there's a way to do something faster, cheaper, or better, I'm going to want that capability as a business owner. But it's important to educate and inform, as I try to do in this presentation, that you really don't want to throw all your company's trade secrets into a large language model, because ultimately you're giving answers to your competition and, even worse, bad actors. By sharing insights in this presentation today, I really hope to allow folks a medium to engage in meaningful discussions with their technical teams and make informed decisions regarding AI defense. So, first off the docket, should you be worried about AI? No. AI comes with a lot of hype and fear, and it's important to separate the sensationalist media coverages from practical realities of AI. It's a tool, and like any other tool, it's going to have its benefits and its risks. I really hope the catchy introduction didn't have you folks thinking that I'm all doom and gloom out here. The future reality I'm envisioning is actually pretty positive, as I believe there's success. We have successful tools and processes at our disposal today that we're ready to tackle any amount of innovation that's going to stand in our collective way. The key goal for today's presentation is to make folks realize you don't have to dive into a mystery pool that is AI. You can really wade in. I know I'm speaking to my industry peers as well as other business stakeholders, and all had the expectation that security and IT have the correct answers regarding generative AI and large language model. There is hope for a better tomorrow, and if you folks hang tight, I promise that you'll be on my side at the end. So, what's the roadmap of today's presentation, and what are we planning to get through? I'm going to be discussing the major pillars of AI defense, the key issues and resolutions, the prescriptive advice that I've come as a result of my research in this topic for commercial enterprises, and the summary. Let's keep moving. So, what are the three? It's pretty simple. A portion of my research from today's presentation came from Stanford AI's Index, the 2024 annual report. I find that that's a good conglomeration of AI knowledge that really gives folks a nice baseline. In that report, I saw that McKinsey had a study that ran from 2023 and continued in 2024 that discussed the key areas of interest for defensive AI for corporations and other enterprises. And those topics really are plain and simple: privacy, data security, and reliability. So commercial enterprises are naturally going to want a way to seek to safeguard their data and business processes from large language models like ChatGPT, Claude 3, sorry about that, Gemini Pro, especially since those models use input data from the end users to train themselves. So for those who didn't know that, I'm glad I was able to catch you up. It's really crucial to implement the strong data governance policies around ensuring how your data is sent to these large language models, and you're not passing along your trade secrets, because I know you want to augment and help better your business processes, but by putting in blank prompts or prompts that are going to give away those trade secrets, you're really just empowering your bad actors and your competition to use the exact ways that you're looking to achieve business efficiency. So here's some resolutions. Privacy is always going to be difficult, but keeping track of who and what has access to your data is going to naturally lead to you creating a solid data governance framework. So really that defining data policies, data granularity, and data sensitivity, let alone many other areas to define, right? I only have enough space on this PowerPoint for this much words. Proper data governance is really going to be the key in helping recognize privacy of sensitive information for the organization. And again, ensuring that AI systems are using the most accurate and reliable data that's been approved for use. Next up, data security. You're really going to want to handle data security by best conducting frequent assessments, allowing you to stay ahead of the schedule for potential threats and ensure that your defenses are up to date and effective. There's going to be types of prompts that are not acceptable to type into large language models for the sole reason that I keep continuing to hammer that you're going to disclose your company's trade secrets or leak other highly sensitive information regarding your enterprise. And the last piece here that I have is reliability, the last bullet. The creation of a use case committee within your commercial enterprise is going to be a cornerstone for future preparation of staff in the usage of AI tools and processes. Ultimately, if you create the right pathway for encouraging staff to use AI and bake that into your business use cases, you can even potentially plan for model obsolescence. So hopefully you folks are beginning to understand why you really shouldn't be worried. But some of you are still hopeless. I completely understand, right? These last two slides may have been pretty boring. All I've done is made some claims, defined some problems, and I told you not to worry. Well, I'm really going to give you some prescriptive advice on defensive steps to take for better defensive posturing on this next slide. Number one, at the minimum, I know it seems, again, like a common sense step, but update your acceptable use policy to comply with your local laws and regulations for data security. That's going to be a great place to start. We're up to 16 states right now that have artificial intelligence laws, of which most are really to stop profiling. Utah, where I'm located, actually just passed an AI awareness law that takes place, actually just took effect and protects consumers from scams or deceit and places the accountability onto the businesses that are using this AI, generative AI, to interact with their customers, really placing the onus of responsibility back into the enterprises in question. So why am I highlighting and starting with policy first? This is always going to be the right decision long term. Now, employees have an internal reference point for future decisions regarding what qualifies as artificial intelligence in your organization, along with the usage or acceptable usage, I should say, of the AI tool and guidance on how to handle data that's used to train those large language models. Lastly, if you haven't moved forward with the creation of an AI AUP policy at your enterprise, I really suggest you do so. You're leaving your employees open to explore and use various AI technologies and company data however they see fit. So as I continue forward here, the stat line I want to point at the top is from Tech Radar. And again, I've included that source at the end of my presentation. As low as 20 and as high as 40% of companies have exposed sensitive data to LLMs right now. So I really want to drive home for those who are still in the wait and see mode. You're really going to have to wake up and start actively involving yourself. There's no more room for wait and see. Generative AI is expected, and this is the shoe drop, to double the adoption rate that smartphones and tablets had over the same comparable time. So that being said, if an AI AUP is not going to happen in your organization for whatever reason, take a look at these 6 bulleted items where it's really recommended from the folks over at CSO Online to include in your acceptable use document. So pretty standard boilerplate items that I would hope you already have included, but for those who might be missing that or need to further expand and update their policy, take a look. It's on screen. Protection of sensitive data, access controls, compliance with regulatory requirements, user training awareness, reporting violations, and requesting new tech with AI capabilities. So hopefully that first piece of advice really resonates with you folks. But if not, let's go back to my creation of AI use case committees. So forming a blended committee of stakeholders from various business units across the enterprise is going to allow you a holistic overview of what your needs are with respect to large language models. These folks in this committee are going to have meaningful conversations regarding what kind of inputs they're presenting to the large language model, which really explains how they're taking into account data security and granularity and sensitivity in these requests. As each business unit shakes out their use case for the types of prompts they're looking to utilize, we're going to start noticing a trend, hopefully within that unit, that allows the usage of that prompt for the large language model to be documented and then approved and accepted. So having this committee meet at a prescribed timing to review and refine prompts from large language models that are going to be acceptable for use allows those within the broader organization to track meaningful updates that are reported out as a result. Like the new pre-approved prompts to be used in your business unit for the given use cases. So expect to see folks publish this prompt usage in the go forward within your enterprise. At least I hope, right? Again, why is that? I need to reiterate this use case committee is important is because you really are going to need a diverse representation from all business units to capture success. In doing so, you're able to get all the range of use cases within your organization and have regular meetings as a result of that to keep on top of what updates are going to be made to those prompts and continued acceptable prompts, I should say. So, to support this establishment of our stakeholder committee, I recommend implementing some rigor by creating clear objectives that really defined what the committee's purpose is and the goal in relation to AI usage for the enterprise, and make that a published artifact. That way, folks can again see what is this committee meeting for, what are they trying to achieve, and here's the output of their work. So let's talk about the structure of this meeting again, as I don't want to just leave you hot pie in the sky and say, form a committee, get in a room, what do you do? That committee should be producing standardized templates of documented use cases and create an approval workflow to validate those use cases. This is going to streamline the process in the go forward and continued meetings and ensure consistent output from each meeting. And again, I would leave room first 10, 15 minutes to review the old prompts that were discussed in the prior meeting, and then continue forward with discussing new use cases as defined by the business units. So great advice. Let me continue on with the most important and what I found could potentially be controversial in a way, arming your vendor management teams. This is the real meat and potatoes in terms of advice I can give. Empowering your vendor management team to be knowledgeable regarding AI washing and trained to spot key trigger words that vendors use to overhype their product pitches is really going to save everybody a lot of headache. Apologies, folks. I just got something in my eye. All right. So really, it's more work. I'm not going to lie to you folks in the vendor management space. This is more work for you, absolutely. But it elevates the position and allows the vendor management team to make informed decisions regarding vendor selection. You're going to want your staff to be terms that suggest overly ambitious capabilities without a clear, achievable outcome. So a quick study, or a quick example, I should say, would be a vendor claiming to summarize complex conversations seamlessly might really be overhyping their product. Realistically, that kind of capability would require extensive resources, your own advanced large language model, and maybe your own expert team internally built to fine-tune the model to ensure effective implementation. So let's continue back forward, though. I really want to stay on this track with respect to vendor management. These are the questions that I have written down. I've took some time to think about that I think are going to be helpful and empower the vendor management team with some real talking points to ask and chat during their next vendor renewal or selection process. So those questions are, and I'll just read a few. How are these models trained, and what is the data sources used? Another great one is, what licensing options are available, and how does that impact control of our AI model? So for lack of time, I want to continue forward, but I will be disseminating this PowerPoint out. So folks who are interested in these questions, feel free to grab it from there. So here's a summary really of what we've covered in today's presentation. We've begun by exploring the threat of deepfakes and emphasized the importance of setting up strong verification protocols, implementing safe words and passphrases, and regularly training your staff to recognize and handle deepfakes effectively. These measures are going to be crucial in maintaining the integrity and security of our communications, and it's something that we have to prep for. We are out of the wait and see mode. Next up, we identified the major pillars of AI defense: privacy, data security, and reliability. The boring part, right? Where I hope I didn't lose you folks. I really drew upon the latest research, and I highlighted the need for robust data governance and frameworks for that data governance to protect sensitive information, right? Having regular audits and allowing you to stay ahead of potential threats, as well as the establishment of a use case committee to ensure reliable and responsible AI usage across the enterprise. It's really highly recommended that the AI use case committees are interdepartmental in their nature, because again, you're going to be documenting, reviewing, and approving all your enterprise use cases across the organization. And having everyone there ensures that data sensitivity and granularity are taken into account. We've also covered, as a practical step for defensive posturing, updating corporate policies, right? Your AUP, your acceptable use policy, that's going to be a foundational step for everyone here. And then finally, we really discussed the importance of empowering vendor management teams by training them to recognize AI washing and overhyped product claims, and equipping them with the right questions to ask during vendor negotiations. We really can ensure greater transparency and accountability from our AI vendors. This includes, but is not limited to, detailing information about the AI models used, the training methods, the data sources, the mechanisms in place for data anonymization and encryption. So, in conclusion, AI really presents both opportunities and risks by implementing the advice that I just mentioned on the previous screen and fostering a culture of continuous learning and vigilance. I personally believe we can navigate the AI landscape effectively. You really don't have to be afraid anymore, or worried, I should say. I really hope everybody's feeling empowered to take meaningful steps towards AI defense for your commercial enterprise. This last slide that I have here on screen really shows some important pieces of conversation I wasn't really able to shoehorn in anywhere else, but I really didn't want to forget to avoid the topic of over-reliance on a single AI tool from a business standpoint. It can lead to vendor lock, and a similar issue could happen with respect to model obsolescence. I know I did cover that adjacent when I was discussing the use case committees and the overall set planning that you can have for that. Lastly, I really want to touch upon benchmarks. You're going to want to take regular benchmarks of your AI tools in relation to metrics that are important to you. I cannot stress that part enough, as the industry standards that I've yet seen are not immediately available. And finding metrics that are meaningful to me or to others right now is going to take some time, really due to the different weighting that each model has, what outputs, the outputs could be measured, right? But what goes in and how that model is coming up with the end solution is really there's no standardization around that yet. Really, this touches upon the bullet point where I'm mentioning at the end, where there's no one size fits all, and usage and scope of the model you're going to choose is going to be different depending on the use case given and desired output. So whatever LLM you're going to be leveraging, there may be better use cases for ChatGPT for finance related tasks than marketing might have. And then vice versa. That could also be true the model itself, where you're leveraging ChatGPT as a generative AI model, or leveraging like Gemini Pro. So thank you all for your time and attention. I really hope that everybody in the audience feels compelled, or no longer compelled, to dive into the mystery that is AI, but we're all pretty much at a shallow depth at this topic now. That's it. Feel free to see my sources. And then my last slide. Oops, sorry. Any questions from folks?
All right, Paddy. Thanks for
No
the great
problem.
talk. First question, which I was asked at AppWorld 2024 earlier this year. Do you have an opinion on the following? Does the capabilities in AI currently benefit attackers or defenders more?
In my research done, 20% of businesses have improved their efficiency over the last year. So I don't see the numbers on the attackers, but I can say definitively, based on the numbers, that there's more positivity coming out of this than negativity at this point. At least what's being tracked and announced.
Great. Any other questions? All right.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much for speaking today.
Of course, I had a blast.